He was rich, handsome, and arrogant, the kind of man who thought the world revolved around him. Women lined up to catch his attention, and he treated love like a game. But one night, during a wild party at his mansion, he made a cruel bet, a bet that would change his life forever. He said he could make any woman fall in love with him, even the poorest, plainest woman in town. His friends laughed and dared him to prove it. And that's when they pointed to her, a shy, overweight waitress working late to pay her bills. They never expected what would happen next. Hey everyone, welcome back to Whispers of Goodness, the channel where real stories remind us that kindness and love can change lives. If you believe in the power of good hearts over cruel words, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story, one that begins with a bet and ends with a miracle. Ethan Miles was 30 years old, a self-made millionaire, and proud of it. He drove a silver Lamborghini, wore Italian suits, and lived in a mansion overlooking the ocean. To the world, he was the picture of success. But inside, Ethan was empty, chasing thrills to fill the silence of his heart. One Friday night, his mansion buzzed with laughter, music, and flashing lights. His friend from the city gathered around, glasses of champagne in hand. Ethan bragged about his charm, how no woman could resist him. That's when one of his friends smirked and said, "Oh really, Ethan? You think you could make anyone fall for you? Even her?" He pointed to the TV screen, showing a live feed from the mansion's security camera. Outside, the catering staff was packing up. Among them was a woman named Grace Parker, short, chubby, and wearing an oversized apron stained from hours of work. Her hair was messy, her shoes old. She looked like someone the world often overlooked. The room burst into laughter. Ethan smiled arrogantly. "Her? That's too easy." "Then prove it," another friend said. "Make her fall in love with you. Date her, marry her if you have to. Let's see how long you can keep the act." Ethan chuckled, then raised his glass. "You've got a deal." The cruel bet was set that a few days later, Ethan returned to the cafe where Grace worked. She was behind the counter, wiping tables with quiet patience. When Ethan walked in, the room seemed to pause. He looked out of place, too polished for the small-town diner. Grace looked up nervously. "Can I help you, sir?" Ethan smiled his practiced smile. "Just coffee and maybe your name?" She blushed, clearly surprised. No one had ever looked at her that way. He came back the next day, and the next. Each time, he brought flowers, compliments, and attention Grace had never known. At first, she thought it was a joke. Men like him didn't notice women like her. But Ethan played the part so well, even he started to believe his own charm. Grace's laughter, her honesty, her warmth, it started breaking down something inside him. Weeks passed. They went on walks, talked for hours, shared stories about their lives. Grace told him about her late mother, about how she worked 2 jobs to save for nursing school. She spoke about kindness, forgiveness, and hope, things Ethan hadn't thought about in years. Her heart was pure. She treated strangers with love, tipped generously even when she had little, and never complained. Ethan's friends kept checking in, teasing him about the bet. But soon, Ethan stopped responding to their messages. He didn't want to think about it anymore. Grace was no longer just a target of a cruel game. She was someone who made him feel human again. Months later, Ethan proposed. Grace cried tears of joy, never imagining that someone like him could love someone like her. They had a small wedding in a garden behind her church. Nothing fancy, just family, close friends, and sunshine. But the truth always finds its way out. On their wedding night, one of Ethan's friends, drunk and bitter, sent Grace screenshots of the group chat. The bet, the jokes, the cruel laughter. That Grace's hands trembled as she read every word. Her heart shattered. She packed a small bag, left her ring on the table, and disappeared into the night without saying a word. When Ethan woke up and found her gone, panic struck him like lightning. He called, searched everywhere, drove for hours, but she was gone. For the first time, Ethan felt real pain. Not from losing a game, but from losing someone who had truly loved him. Weeks turned into months. Ethan stopped showing up to parties. He sold his Lamborghini, closed the mansion, and withdrew from the glittering world that once defined him. He started volunteering at a community center, the same one Grace had told him she dreamed of helping. He worked in the soup kitchen, mopped floors, handed out meals. Every face reminded him of her, her kindness, her laughter, her simple goodness. That he donated money quietly, without his name attached. For the first time, he was doing things not for attention, but out of guilt and love. One rainy evening, as Ethan served soup to a line of homeless people, he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Need some help with that pot?" He froze. Slowly, he turned around. It was Grace. She looked thinner, tired, but her eyes, those kind, deep brown eyes, were the same. She had been working there too, in another shift, never expecting to see him again. That Ethan's voice broke. "Grace, She stopped him with a small shake of her head. "You don't owe me an apology, Ethan. I already forgave you." Tears filled his eyes. "You did," she nodded. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I needed time. Time to heal. And time to see if the man you pretended to be could become real." Ethan swallowed hard. "He did. Because of you." They stood there in silence, the smell of soup and rain filling the air. Then Grace smiled gently and handed him a ladle. "Then let's feed some people, Mr. Miles." Over the next year, they worked side by side. No fancy cars, no bets, no lies. Ethan helped expand the community kitchen into a foundation that offered free meals and scholarships. He named it Grace House. The media eventually caught wind of it. The millionaire who gave up his wealth to serve the poor. But Ethan never did it for the headlines. He did it because love, real love, had taught him the power of kindness. Grace eventually let him back in her life. Not as a husband right away, but as a friend, a partner in good work. Slowly, trust grew again. One Christmas Eve, surrounded by volunteers and children laughing over hot chocolate, Ethan got down on one knee once more. This time, there was no bet. No pride. Just truth, he said. "Grace, I once married you for all the wrong reasons. But today, I'm asking you again, not because of a dare, but because your kindness saved me. Will you give me another chance to love you the right way?" Grace's eyes filled with tears. She smiled through them and whispered, "Only if we promise to keep serving others together." And she said yes. Ethan never went back to his old life. Together, he and Grace turned Grace House into a nationwide charity, feeding thousands of people every year. Their love became a story whispered across towns. Proof that kindness can turn arrogance into compassion, and that no heart is too lost to be found again. Sometimes, life gives us lessons in the most painful ways. Ethan thought he was making a bet for fun, but what he really found was the woman and the love that saved his soul. Because in the end, kindness always wins. That if this story touched your heart, remember to like this video, subscribe to Whispers of Goodness, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Let's fill the world with more kindness. One story, one act of love at a time.